gotta talk to Gage.
And hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I just want to share some of my thoughts on System Shock. I got this game on the Xbox.
Come back to me, Gage.
Series X pretty much as soon as it launched, and what am I doing?
Who are we talking about?
I really enjoyed this game. I actually thought it was really amazing, and I don't know, I just felt like I kind of owed it to the developers of this game to talk about it, because man, I was hooked on this experience for the duration of my playthrough. I beat it in around 20 hours or so, and lately I found it difficult to sink a lot of time into one game if I'm really not feeling it. But man, this game just really was exactly what I was looking for. You know, like there's such a good variety of weapons in this game. You know, good enemy variety as well, and mechanics and all that good stuff. It is quite amazing. But I really don't want to talk about that stuff as much. I wouldn't really look at this as like a full-blown review, but I really just want to kind of share my personal thoughts, the things that really stood out to me, the things that really left an impact on me that I'm going to remember about this game. So one of my favorite aspects about this game is just the immersion of it. You know, the fact that there is a mechanic where you have this inventory management system akin to like Resident Evil 4 and even the new ones. And it really just immerses you into the game, because you can just pick up a lot of different things and you can dematerialize them into, you know, these little cubes, and you can use those to make money. And there's just really a really cool feedback loop with that. And I just found it to be a very immersive game as well, because you have to find the ammo that you use. This isn't just a Call of Duty or a Battlefield or anything like that. Not even like a Halo. You know, you actually have to keep track of all the ammo that you're using, because it's highly valuable and every shot counts, at least for the first chunk of the game. I will say that like the second half of the game, the final 25% of it, was probably the weakest part of it in my opinion, just because it becomes more like a Doom type experience where, you know, you have a lot more ammo and you're just kind of mowing down enemies, and there's a lot of them, and that was just kind of my perspective. But again, that immersion that's there is just awesome. You know, different ammo types, the story. You know, this is something in games that nowadays I almost can't stand, and I get so annoyed when I boot up a game and, you know, there's like a really chatty protagonist in an otherwise very serious or immersive type game, and it just takes me out of the experience almost every time.
Glowing lights. This must be the Zenith base. Looks like they have a shield around the entire place. Of course, they'd make their base on their own private island. Hold on, Beta. We're coming for you soon. But, back to the current problem. I've got to check out the areas Avira mentioned. Near the big waterfall and south of that Horus on the ridge.
Shut up!
Unless it's an RPG. You know, RPGs are kind of meant for stuff like that, at least the JRPG variety. Western RPGs maybe a little bit different. But yeah, something about System Shock I really admired is the fact that, you know, your character does not speak at all. It is supposed to be you immersing yourself into this space station, the world building on display here, and that's what really carries you through, because you are surviving this space station and all of these creatures and robots and stuff that are on board, and it's great. And speaking of those robots and creatures, this game is like you took a syringe full of 80s and 90s nostalgia and energy and creativity, and you just injected it into a modern game, because all the enemies are just like ripped straight out of all sorts of different 80s and 90s sci-fi movies of all types of varieties. And I think it's just so fun. It's so cool, because each enemy, I'm like, dude, like, I'm not saying like they literally copied those types of movies, but you know, the original System Shock came out in the 90s, and it's just really feels like you can tell. You know, you can tell a lot of the enemies are kind of designed in a way where you're like, oh, like I feel like I've seen something like that. Or, you know, it screams 80s and 90s. And even just the color palette, the way it looks, the way it plays, it feels like a shot of nostalgia for a time gone by. And I really like that in a really good way, I should say. Really, the reason why I finished this game, the reason why the moment I booted it up and I met a certain character, I realized I have to finish this. It was meeting Shodan for the first time. Now, my history with this character goes back many, many years. When I was just a young kid, I was probably 13, 14 years old at the time, and I was watching some old Watch Mojo videos on YouTube, and I don't remember what the list exactly was. While I'm editing this, I'll maybe look for it, so if I find it, I'll put it up on screen. But I was watching this video talking about like villains in games, you know, iconic villains, things like that. And Shodan was brought up. I think her from System Shock 2.
One word, Shodan.
Which, please, I hope they remake that game next. That would be so cool. But Shodan was brought up, and I remember that making such an impression on me because I'd never played the games before, obviously, because I was like mainly a Nintendo kid at the time, and so like I didn't know any of that. But I was like, whoa, like this villain, this character looks really intense in the way that they talked about her. I don't remember everything they said, but I remember just thinking, wow, like they're making her sound really epic and really scary. And sure enough, you know, all these years later, I still remember her. I've never forgotten about that character from those brief clips in those Watch Mojo videos. And I finally get to experience that character for myself, and man, she's so cool. She was what really drew me in and showed me I have to finish this. The game would not be nearly as good without Shodan. She makes this game as special as it is.
How dare you strike a god? Your impudence will be your end.
And I really mean that. So yeah, she's so intense, and she's so epic and edgy. And Gabriel, my little brother, said that she is kind of similar to Ash from Apex Legends.
What you attempt to do to me comes back to you tenfold.
In some ways, I can kind of see that, but obviously this is very different tonally, those two games. But yeah, Shodan was just awesome. She's really intense, and some of the things she talks about, you know, wanting to be a god and being the new god for humanity, and then having all these experiments. That's what all the enemies are that you're fighting. You know, they're the old people on the space station. That is really insane. That is epic to me. I thought it was amazing. Awesome. And you know, it's the type of story where it's sort of, you know, painting the picture of AI being a bad thing. You know, Shodan started out as being a good AI on the station, but it was just when you got rid of the ethical inhibitors that she becomes this evil entity, which is a really cool idea. It's a really cool theme in this game, in this story. I think it's also poignant, especially today, you know, when AI is, you know, actually becoming a thing. You know, will something like this ever happen? Probably not, at least not within any of our lifetimes, but it is still just really interesting. And of course, this is, you know, kind of in the same vein as BioShock. I'm a huge BioShock fan. You know, I'm not going to spend this video gushing about BioShock. We'll have to say that for another time. Yeah, it has that kind of BioShock energy. Of course, this came first, but it's that idea of you're in this really interesting place and you're learning about the world building, you're learning about the people, the place, the history, at the same time, the person that you're playing as in game. So you're learning about it at the same time, and that's really cool because you are coming into this just as fresh-faced as the character you're playing as in the game, and you can still be immersed because they're not super chatty, and that's great. And that's what I like so much about BioShock, and I think System Shock is also amazing, an incredible masterpiece, because BioShock is one of those just best games of all time in my book. And I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed the System Shock remake. So yeah, you know, I didn't want to make this video super long. I just kind of wanted to share some of my thoughts and perspective on the game after finishing it. You know, my forte has always been more of, you know, a very personalized look at media versus these very in-depth reviews. I'll save that for channels that are far more talented than I will probably ever be, because I'm just much better at doing these types of videos, just talking about what really, you know, clicked with me, you know, or what I really found in a story or whatever it is, something along those lines. Just my personal thoughts, experience, identity kind of injected into what I'm talking about in these videos. So anyways, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.